Hey, stop right there. I need to see your papers now.
My papers?
Don't get smart with me. Are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, I am. Man.
Then prove it. ID right now.
Is this really happening?
Yes, sir. Keep laughing and I'll detain you.
What you just heard wasn't simply a tense encounter at a gas station. It was a uniformed federal agent aggressively questioning and threatening a 60-year-old black man who, as it turns out, is a sitting federal judge. In less than a minute, the agent escalated a routine public interaction into a constitutional violation without reasonable suspicion, without probable cause, and without recognizing who he was speaking to. The mistake wasn't just procedural, it was catastrophic. The agent demanded proof of citizenship from a U.S. federal judge, threatened detention over a laugh, and acted on assumption rather than law. That single miscalculation triggered an Inspector General investigation, Department of Justice scrutiny, a federal civil rights lawsuit, and consequences that extended far beyond one shift on patrol. If this is how a respected federal judge can be treated in broad daylight, on camera, at a public gas station, what happens to those without status, title, or visibility? What followed forced the agency into a reckoning it could no longer avoid. His name is Judge Marcus Ellison Carter. He is 60 years old. For the past 23 years, he has served as a United States District Judge, appointed after nearly 3 decades as a federal prosecutor and civil rights attorney. Before taking the bench, he spent 17 years with the U.S. Attorney's Office, arguing complex federal cases, including public corruption and constitutional litigation. Earlier in his career, he clerked for a federal appellate judge and graduated magna cum laude from law school. Over the course of his judicial tenure, Judge Carter has presided over more than 3,000 federal cases, from criminal trials to constitutional challenges, issuing published opinions that are cited in appellate courts across the country. He has lectured at national judicial conferences, mentored dozens of young attorneys, and served on federal committees focused on due process and judicial ethics. His courtroom reputation is consistent, measured, disciplined, meticulous. Colleagues describe him as restrained and fair. Attorneys who appear before him, prosecution and defense alike, know they will receive a hearing grounded in law, not emotion. For over 2 decades, he has been entrusted with interpreting the Constitution, and on that afternoon, under the fluorescent lights of a gas station canopy, he was asked to prove he belonged in his own country. Agent Daniel R. Whitaker, 34 years old, had been with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement for 8 years. He joined the agency at 26. On paper, his record appeared stable. No suspensions, no demotions, no major disciplinary action. But a closer look told a different story. Over the course of his career, Whitaker had accumulated 9 civilian complaints, 6 alleged discourtesy or unprofessional conduct. 3 involved claims of racial profiling during pedestrian and vehicle stops. In each case, the findings were either not sustained or exonerated. None resulted in suspension. None resulted in loss of pay. Despite the pattern, he remained in good standing. Promoted to field training agent last year, he was now responsible for mentoring new recruits. The complaints never escalated to sustained findings. ICE's internal review system required clear evidence of policy violation, and without explicit slurs or overt misconduct captured on camera, cases rarely moved forward. Each complaint existed in isolation. No cumulative review triggered intervention. Institutionally, he was protected by procedure. Until this stop, the government vehicle turns into the gas station. Live from Jefferson Avenue, midday traffic moves steadily on the adjacent road. The canopy lights are already on despite the sun. Multiple cars are parked at the pumps. A gray sedan is stopped near pump number 4. Judge Marcus Ellison Carter stands beside the driver's side door. The fuel nozzle is in the tank. He is holding his wallet loosely in one hand, keys in the other. Sunglasses rest on top of his head. His posture is upright but relaxed. Agent Daniel R. Whitaker exits the vehicle quickly. The bodycam shifts abruptly as his boots hit the concrete. His right hand rests near his belt. He does not approach any other person in the lot. He walks directly toward Judge Carter. "Hey, stop right there. I need to see your papers. Now." Judge Carter turns his head slowly. He does not move away. He looks directly at the agent. "My papers?" The agent steps closer. The camera narrows the space between them. Other customers continue fueling without interruption. No one else is being questioned. Don't get smart with me. Are you a citizen? Judge Carter's eyebrows lift slightly. A brief, incredulous laugh escapes him. He does not raise his voice. Single quotes, yes. I am. The agent shifts his weight forward. His shoulders square. His tone sharpens. Then prove it. ID. Right now. Judge Carter glances around the lot for a second. No one else is being stopped. No one else is being asked for documentation. The white drivers pump gas nearby. They are not approached. Is this really happening? Sir, keep laughing and I'll detain you. Judge Carter raises his hands slightly, palms open at chest level. He is not holding anything threatening. The wallet remains visible between two fingers. The agent steps even closer. The camera shakes as his breathing becomes heavier. His left hand briefly touches the radio clip to his vest. His right hand hovers near his holster. Turn around if you're not going to cooperate. For what reason? Judge Carter asks calmly. For failure to comply. I'm pumping gas. You were loitering when I pulled in. Judge Carter looks at the nozzle still inserted into his vehicle. I'm standing at a fuel pump. The agent's voice rises. Customers inside the convenience store glance through the glass doors. No one else in the lot is being ordered to turn around. No one else is being asked about citizenship, ID. Now, Judge Carter slowly lowers one hand and opens his wallet. His movements are deliberate and controlled. Let me reach slowly. Keep your hands where I can see them. You just told me to get my ID. Don't argue with me. Judge Carter pauses. His hands remain visible. I'm not arguing. The agent takes another step forward, closing the remaining distance. The camera captures only inches between them. The judge's expression remains steady. His shoulders are not tense. He does not attempt to leave. A white SUV pulls into the adjacent pump. The driver exits, begins fueling, and is ignored entirely. The agent's attention remains fixed on one person in the lot. You fit a description, Whitaker says abruptly. Of what? Judge Carter asks. Suspicious activity. What activity? Don't question me. There's no report being referenced over the radio. No dispatch call is audible describing the suspect. The radio remains silent except for unrelated chatter from another unit blocks away. Judge Carter maintains eye contact. Agent, am I being detained? Do not test me. Am I free to go? You are not free to go until I say you are. On what legal basis? The agent does not answer directly. His jaw tightens. Turn around. Judge Carter does not turn. He stands still. With respect, you have no cause. Last warning. The agent reaches forward and grips Judge Carter's wrist briefly before letting go. When the judge does not resist, the camera jolts. The physical contact is initiated by the agent. A woman near pump number 6 stares. She is not approached. No other drivers are stopped. Judge Carter's voice remains level. I am cooperating. You're being disrespectful. By asking why I'm being stopped. By laughing. The interaction continues in public view. One man is being questioned about citizenship in the middle of a routine gas station stop. He is 60 years old. He is calm. He is not obstructing. He is not fleeing. He is not aggressive. He is being treated as a suspect first and a citizen second. Produce your identification now, the agent repeats. Judge Carter slowly removes his driver's license from his wallet and holds it up without stepping forward. Here, the agent snatches it quickly. The camera captures the motion at close range. The agent does not reference any immigration violation. He does not cite any specific crime. He continues to stand within arm's reach, body angled forward, voice raised. You think this is funny? No. Judge Carter replies quietly. I think it's unnecessary. The scene remains unresolved. The agent retains the identification. The judge remains in place. No explanation is provided. No articulable suspicion is stated. The only visible trigger for the stop is the presence of a black man standing at a gas pump. The encounter escalates in plain sight. No one else is stopped. No one else is questioned, only him. Agent Whitaker studies the driver's license under the canopy lights. His breathing is audible on the body cam. He looks at the name. He looks at the date of birth. He looks back at the man in front of him. You think you're smarter than me? Whitaker says. Judge Carter stands still, hands visible. No sudden movement. I think you're making a mistake, he replies calmly. The agent's jaw tightens. His tone shifts from aggressive to irritated. The calm response appears to frustrate him more than resistance would have. Behind them, a man near pump number 6 raises his voice. Why are you stopping him? He's just getting gas. Whitaker ignores the comment. A woman exiting the convenience store slows down and looks directly at the interaction. He didn't do anything, she says. Whitaker keeps his eyes on Judge Carter. Turn around. Place your hands behind your back. For what charge? Judge Carter asks. Obstruction. I have complied with every instruction. Stop talking. Whitaker reaches forward and grabs Judge Carter's wrist again, this time with force. The physical escalation is initiated by the agent. The judge does not resist. A voice from the crowd calls out. This is racial profiling. Whitaker snaps back without turning. Mind your business. Judge Carter speaks evenly. Agent, I am giving you an opportunity to reconsider. You can step back. You can disengage. You can correct this. Whitaker's irritation intensifies. Is that a threat? It's a professional courtesy. Whitaker's grip tightens. You don't tell me how to do my job. Judge Carter remains composed. You have no articulable suspicion of an immigration violation, he says. Presence alone is not cause. Appearance alone is not cause. Whitaker shakes his head. There you go again, trying to play lawyer. Whitaker moves behind Judge Carter and attempts to guide his arms backward. Hands behind your back. I am not resisting, the judge says clearly. You are being detained. On what specific grounds? Failure to comply and suspected status violation. He was pumping gas. The man from pump number 6 responds. Whitaker ignores him again. Judge Carter turns his head slightly. Agent, you are escalating without cause. I am asking you again to reconsider. Whitaker leans closer. You think that calm voice makes you untouchable? No, Judge Carter replies. It reflects that I know the law. Whitaker says through clenched teeth, you people always think you can argue your way out. The words hang in the air. Several witnesses react audibly. What do you mean, you people? A woman demands. Whitaker does not respond to her. Judge Carter speaks slowly. Agent, I am giving you one final opportunity to disengage. You don't give me opportunities, Whitaker snaps. You are making a decision that will have consequences. That sounds like a threat. A second government vehicle pulls into the lot as backup. Another agent steps out, looks at the scene, looks at the restraints, looks at the crowd holding up phones. What's the charge? The backup agent asks. Obstruction. Suspected status violation, Whitaker replies quickly. Judge Marcus Ellison Carter stands restrained beside his vehicle. He has not struggled. He has not raised his voice. His wrists are secured behind his back. He speaks clearly, without shouting. Agent, I did not want to do this. I am a United States District Judge. Whitaker freezes for half a second, then scoffs. Yeah, okay. Judge Carter continues. My name is Marcus Ellison Carter. I sit on the federal bench. I am requesting your supervisor immediately. The backup agent's posture changes. He looks at the driver's license still in Whitaker's hand. Let me see that, he says. Whitaker hesitates before handing it over. The backup agent reads the name again. He looks at Judge Carter's face more carefully now. Dispatch, run Marcus Ellison Carter. Federal Judiciary Database. There is a pause, static, then the response, steady. Confirmed, United States District Judge. Appointed 1003, the silence under the canopy is immediate. Several witnesses speak at once. He told you. You just cuffed a federal judge. This is what you do to black men. Whitaker's breathing becomes heavier on the bodycam audio. Judge Carter speaks calmly. This is exactly the kind of conduct I roll on in my courtroom. The field supervisor's vehicle pulls into the lot within minutes. Supervisory Agent Sandra Morales steps out, assessing the crowd, the phones recording, the government vehicles. What happened? She asks sharply. Whitaker begins quickly. He was non-compliant, suspicious, refused to provide ID. I provided ID, Judge Carter states clearly. Immediately, the backup agent adds quietly, he did. Morales looks at the restraints. Why is he restrained? Agent safety, Whitaker responds. What threat did he present? He was argumentative. Morales turns to Judge Carter. Sir, are you injured? No. Were you resisting? No. A bystander speaks up. He was calm the whole time. You targeted him the second you pulled in. Another adds, you didn't stop anyone else, just him. Morales looks around the lot. Multiple white drivers fueling vehicles. None questioned. None detained. She turns back to Whitaker. What was the reasonable suspicion of an immigration violation? He matched a description. From what intelligence? Whitaker hesitates. There wasn't a call. He was loitering. He was pumping gas. The backup agent says quietly. The supervisor's expression hardens. Remove the restraints. Whitaker pauses. Now, Morales says firmly. The restraints are removed. The metal clicks again, this time signaling release. Judge Carter rubs his wrist briefly, but remains composed. I did not want to disclose my position, he says evenly. No citizen should have to. Morales nods slightly. You're correct. Judge Carter continues. The issue here is not my title. The issue is that I was treated as presumptively suspicious and presumptively foreign for standing at a gas pump. Several witnesses nod. Morales turns to Whitaker. Step aside. They move a few feet away, still within earshot of the crowd. What were you thinking? Morales asks in a controlled tone. He was being disrespectful. Disrespect is not grounds for immigration detention. He laughed. Laughing is not an immigration violation. Morales lowers her voice, but remains firm. You have prior complaints for stops without clear legal articulation. 3 alleging racial profiling. Internal review flagged patterns of discretionary stops involving Black and Latino individuals. I told you to document articulable suspicion of a specific immigration violation before approaching civilians. You didn't. Whitaker says nothing. Morales continues. You detained a federal judge without probable cause, in public, on camera, surrounded by witnesses, a federal judge whose court has jurisdiction over cases involving this agency. Whitaker mutters, I didn't know. Morales responds immediately, it does not matter who he is. The Fourth Amendment standard is the same for everyone. Judge Carter, standing nearby, speaks again. This is not about embarrassment. This is about constitutional violation and the weaponization of federal enforcement authority against a citizen based solely on his appearance. Morales nods. I understand. She turns to her radio. Notify the Office of Professional Responsibility. Secure bodycam footage from both units. Preserve all recordings and vehicle logs. We will conduct an immediate review and notify the DHS Inspector General. She then addresses the crowd. This encounter is being documented and reviewed at the federal level. A witness calls out, it shouldn't take him being a judge for you to fix it. Morales does not argue with that statement. Whitaker stands rigid, silent. Judge Carter looks at him directly. I gave you multiple opportunities to step back. Whitaker does not respond. The institutional shift is visible now. The authority that shielded him moments earlier is retracting. The liability is immediate. A federal judge detained by a federal agent without cause creates an exposure that reaches directly into the Department of Justice and the DHS Inspector General's office. Federal civil rights statutes apply without ambiguity. The interagency dimension, one federal officer unlawfully detaining another, removes every layer of procedural insulation that might otherwise slow accountability. Morales speaks quietly to Whitaker again. You understand this will trigger IG review and likely DOJ Civil Rights Division involvement. Whitaker swallows. Yes, ma'am. Judge Carter picks up his phone. I will be contacting counsel. He says calmly. Morales nods once more. That is your right. The crowd begins dispersing slowly, still recording. The gas pumps continue running. Cars continue arriving. Life at the station resumes its surface normality. But internally, the shift has already occurred. This is no longer a street encounter. It is a documented constitutional failure with federal implications reaching the highest levels of the executive branch. And it began because one Black man standing at a gas pump was treated as inherently suspicious and inherently foreign. Within 48 hours, the bodycam footage was formally secured by ICE's Office of Professional Responsibility and transmitted to the DHS Inspector General. By the end of the week, attorneys representing Judge Marcus Ellison Carter filed a federal civil rights complaint. Under 40 to USC Section 1983 in Bivens v. 6 unknown name agents, alleging unlawful detention, violation of Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable seizure, and discriminatory enforcement based on race. The lawsuit did not focus on embarrassment. It focused on conduct. The complaint stated clearly the stop lacked articulable suspicion of any immigration violation. The detention lacked probable cause, and the escalation was triggered by race and perceived foreign origin. It referenced prior civilian complaints against Agent Daniel R. Whitaker, specifically the 3 alleging racial profiling. It cited ICE's failure to conduct cumulative pattern analysis despite 9 complaints over 8 years. At the first press conference, Judge Carter stood at a podium outside the courthouse. "This is not about my position," he said. "It is about the fact that I was treated as suspicious and treated as foreign for standing at a gas pump." Reporters asked whether he intended to pursue damages personally. "I intend to pursue accountability," he replied. During discovery, agency records revealed that Whitaker's prior complaints had been reviewed individually, never collectively. Internal review files show repeated language, not sustained, insufficient evidence. Agent discretion. None of the investigations evaluated racial or ethnic pattern data across stops. Supervisory memos acknowledged enforcement style concerns, but did not trigger retraining or monitoring. Statistical analysis ordered during the litigation showed that over a 3-year period, Whitaker had initiated field stops of Black and Latino individuals at a rate 3.1 times higher than white individuals in the same patrol zone. Of those stops, 71% resulted in no enforcement action, no detention, and no documented immigration violation. In deposition, the agency's training coordinator was asked, "Does laughing at an agent constitute obstruction?" "No," he answered. "Does asking whether one is being detained constitute obstruction?" "No." "Does standing at a gas pump constitute reasonable suspicion of an immigration violation?" "No." "Does a person's race or perceived national origin constitute articulable suspicion under the Fourth Amendment?" "No." DOJ Civil Rights Division attorneys recognized early that the case presented no viable federal defense. The bodycam footage was unambiguous. The absence of any documented immigration predicate was unambiguous. The supervisor's on-scene acknowledgement was unambiguous. The racial disparity in stop patterns was statistically documented. Settlement negotiations began. For months later, the United States government approved a settlement totaling to $1,400,000, reflecting both the constitutional severity of the violation and the interagency exposure created when a federal agent unlawfully detained a sitting federal judge. At the DOJ announcement of the settlement, a senior official stated, "We are resolving conduct that should have been identified and corrected long before this encounter occurred." Agent Whitaker was placed on administrative leave immediately following the OPR investigation. The findings determined that he violated agency policy regarding lawful detention standards, use of restraints, and bias-free enforcement protocols. The report explicitly stated the detention lacked any legal basis under the Fourth Amendment and was influenced by impermissible assumptions based on race and perceived national origin. Whitaker's federal law enforcement credentials were referred to the DHS Suitability Review Board. Following review, he was terminated from the agency and permanently barred from federal law enforcement service. The broader review exposed structural failure within the field office. The agency had no system for aggregating complaints to identify patterns of racially or ethnically disparate enforcement. Supervisors relied on isolated case review. Bodycam footage was audited only when a formal complaint was filed. There was no proactive analysis of stop demographics by race or national origin. As part of the settlement agreement, a federal compliance monitor was appointed for 24 months. The field office implemented mandatory predicate documentation. Agents must now state, on camera, the specific legal basis for any immigration detention before applying restraints, unless an immediate and articulable safety threat is present. At a community forum following the settlement, a resident stood up and said, "So if he wasn't a judge, would anything have happened?" The room fell quiet. Judge Carter answered, "That question is why we are here." The injustice was undeniable because it was documented. But the documentation existed because the victim had status, knowledge, and resources. The legal consequences followed because exposure was unavoidable. The question the room asked and did not answer was the one that mattered most. For everyone who is not a federal judge, for everyone who stands at a gas pump without a title to invoke, for everyone who is treated as foreign in their own country and has no credential to prove otherwise, what happens to them?